really data analysis, right? Because this is not a data analysis course, but a monitoring and evaluation course. But anyways, um, it is important to note that yes, this is also a key part of monitoring and evaluation, because this is where you want to understand your results. At the end of this module, we hope you'll be able to manage numeric and non-numeric data, understand the steps and principles to process quantitative and qualitative data, then prepare your data collection instrument for proper analysis. In this video, we'll be showing you how to create an analysis plan, show you a quantitative data analysis grid, a qualitative data analysis grid. We'll show you how to do proper data entry and cleaning, then how to aggregate your findings. So that's all we'll be doing in this video. And so what exactly is an analysis plan? You should understand that here, before you get information, all the responses from the respondents needs to be entered so that it could be analyzed, right? So that you can get findings. So most times, if you have used a paper format, so if you remember this that we developed in the module that focused on quantitative data data instruments, that's module 4B, if I'm correct. At the beginning, this was in paper format, which we actually did in paper format. Then you need to now enter it, right, in a spreadsheet for it to be analyzed properly. But what this has done, we use Google Form, right? This does the analysis automatically and enters the data. So you don't need to bother yourself about entering data anymore. So this has collected the data and it has also entered it. And if you talk of validation also, it has been built into this as well. So that's what we refer to as planning your analysis, and that's what we'll be doing as we go on. So it is important to note that I think so. We mentioned this also when we started module 4. This is where you now see what it means by comparing data pre and post. That is before your program started and after the program started. Or you want to compare your participants after the program has ended and compare them with a group that were not part of your participants, right? So what do we mean by analysis plan? It's just making sure, yes, you know your indicators, right? Remember this. So, I mean, part of this we have done while creating, just before creating, or while creating this, because, yeah, I mean, we were looking at this, right? And that's what we refer to. So, as planning your data. So, you already planning the outcome while you were preparing the instrument. It is very important. That was why I said you don't just prepare a questionnaire. You prepare a questionnaire based on what you have on your cursor pathway or your theory of change, because this is what you're looking out for. So you need to be able to plan your instrument in that way, so that it is not when you collect, when you have received response, you now start thinking about, we didn't have question that actually answered this or this. So you don't say that, because you've used this document to create your instrument. So which means, yes, the responses you are going to get, you now use this, right? You now use this to infer your findings, because yes, you're getting the right kind of data. So it's important to note your non-numeric data versus numeric data and to know what you can get from it, right? Um, Remember that we created our instruments for this particular for the purpose of this training. We created for these um, two indicators, which are actually numerical data, right? Um, so let's go back to a slide. Note that you can transform qualitative data into non-numerical or into numerical or non-numerical um, indicator. We'll tell you that in a bit. Then that your quantitative data will be analyzed as numerical indicators. This is very straightforward. When you have your rates, your percentages, I mean, it can only be in form of, it can only answer numerical indicators, right? So um, that's what we refer to as analysis planning anyways. Um, so one thing you also need to do is to prepare. So in you preparing an analysis grid, um, so also, I mean, this allows you to do that. Your results statement on one side, and what we mean here, I mean, we put relevant evaluation question here, but for the purpose of this training, this are all what we mean. Um, so, was there any legislature that acknowledged the need for law that protects women? We want to know that. We want to know if the more girl child are aware of how to be self-sustaining. To what extent did our program achieve improved livelihoods, reduce trafficking? Um, so all that, right? We need to factor it in. So this column also comes back, where is it? In here. Then you have your relevant indicator and your instrument, of course. Yeah, I mean, in developing instruments, we have developed so quantitative. So this is your survey, right? Um, so just put in the title of your survey. This one is improved livelihood, right? End of program survey. Then you now put in the corresponding question on your questionnaire that answers this. So that's what we're trying to say. So um, in essence, what we're trying to look at. So if you look at this, because it's a short questionnaire, we can easily know the number. This is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So number 5, question 5, answers the question of businesses. I remember we just added that, right? So you just put question 5 by the side, and that is you putting together an analysis plan, right? Um, let's go to, actually let's see if we can quickly do that. New spreadsheet. It's possible, something we can quickly do. Um, Analysis grid, course quant, right? Livelihood program. So your starts with your program objective, then your indicators, then your instrument. We are only using one instrument here, but just imagine that you have lots of different types of um, outcomes or objectives, and you want to use different instruments to get to collect data for the indicators. So you might think about having different instruments. Then question number. Oops. So where will this be? Let me just put number. Okay. So for the instruments that we've developed, so I'm only doing this for this, right? Um, and don't forget, this is just an abridged format. Um, so we did this, and this. So I'll just start from more exploited women. This is the beauty about using spreadsheets, right? And that's why M&E people, they love spreadsheets, because it's easier for you um, to quickly put things into perspective. So that's your indicator. I just need this. So you can have that, wrap it up. Question number. So what's the question number that gives us data for this indicator? Um, think let's just finish first. See, change in knowledge, right? So it's important that you confirm this actually even before, by the time you're preparing your, what did I do? Something is wrong. Oh, okay. This should be instrument. So we have only one instrument anyways. So it's important. I mean, while I was doing my, it's easier for me to prepare while knowing, but it's important that you do this even while preparing your questionnaire. So you already know the questions to match um, with your indicators, right? Let's have the last one. Um, yes, this. No, this is key informant. Is not. This will be answered by an interview, right? So then, what's the objective? Improve livelihoods. Um, question. The question related to understanding dangers of irregular migration is what number? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Question 6. So put in 6 here. So I already know the one for sexual abuse. So that's 7 is the question immediately after it, right? Question 7. Then the one about starting businesses, if your participants have actually started businesses, is question 5, right? Question 5. Let's put it there. So this is what your analysis grid actually looks like. And so what you're saying is, oh, question 6 will tell you if more exploited women have learned about dangers of irregular migration. Question 7, the data you got from it will allow you to answer if more exploited women have become aware of sexual abuse reporting mechanisms. And question 5 will allow you to know um, if your program has improved their livelihood. So, and don't forget, because this is a small instrument purposely for used purposely for this training. In real sense, you can have at times 4 questions answering one program objective, right? It's possible, especially if you think you want to do so many kind of analysis as well. So, but just restrict it to 3 so that you can do proper analysis, so you won't be writing so many things about just one program objective. So maybe 3 questions per program objective is good and enough for you. So this is how your grid analysis looks like in terms of quantitative data analysis. So let's get into things. Your qualitative is not as much different. I won't be going into that anyways, but um, on the first column, you have your interview name, date of interview, organization, role. So the first question that the person needs to that the person answers. If you the second question, the third, and if there are stories and examples. So you just put each interviewee in the columns just as it is and write their respective responses to each of your questions in terms of indicator questions. So, for example, um, this is the key informant. So, your number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you just put it underneath each of. So, that's for qualitative um, analysis grid. Almost the same thing. It's just that this does not have number, but it has name of people and their responses to your question, right? That's what this qualitative analysis grid does for you. Um, so for us to do analysis properly, after entry, we need to clean the data that we have. That is very, very important um, because in the real sense of things, um, there might be so many things that might have happened in collecting the data or by the time you are entering the data. So it needs to be clean and smart. And you could see this header, right, that we have. So this is, for example, this is also a dummy kind of response on the spreadsheet. It doesn't have the questions anymore, right? Also, there's no name. So you need to protect people in analysis. So you've removed their names and turn it into this. This we will do in a bit in trying to enter and clean the data that we have. So in terms of findings, um, so let us first try and see what we have before we go into because it's actually part of our learning task also to you're supposed to clean the data from the 20 responses that you have. So um, entering and cleaning for you to understand it properly, let me show us. So let's go back to the form that we designed in module 4B, quantitative data collection. Um, if I'm correct, this was the form, and you can start looking at your form. So something is already different in the form. I now have responses. Like it was said then that we are supposed to administer it to 20 people. So look at the responses tab. Um, you see questions, you see responses. I have 21. Just click on it. So this is where all my responses are actually stored. Automatically, what Google Form does for you is that it gives you an analysis straight So you don't need to be a data analyst, right? You think? Um, so I mean, these are the results that you have already from your you already have the result from your program automatically. So 42.9%, 47.6% said, oh, their knowledge on sexual abuse reporting mechanisms have rated themselves as excellent, right? If you compare this to, so if you have asked the same question, you need to go back to when they, before they entered the program, how many people picked excellent, right? So this means 10 out of 20. 9 said good, and what it means is that in reporting, you just need to add both of them. Uh, 10, 19, saying that, oh, um, they the 19 are rating their knowledge as good. That is just what it means. And these other ones you can, yeah, fair or less than that. So um, I'm just showing us this anyways. Like, yes, you can think about it like using this because it gives you results, right? Just like you want it. But I'll tell you that there are some things that are missing already. If you look at it, we said we should collect 20 responses, right? But here I'm having 21 responses, right? Um, if you know you have the right responses, 20 responses, it's just easier for you to go ahead and um, let me just do a so in Google Documents, your presentation, and this is what we'll be doing in the next module, right? Module 6, presenting M&E results. Let me just quickly, so this is like your slide that you have in your PowerPoint presentation, right? Microsoft PowerPoint presentation. In Google, it's called the Google slide. So livelihood program. I'm not saying what I want to put in here is already right. So, but um, I just want to quickly show us. I mean, if you know that, oh, you have 20 responses and it's sure you have it, I will show us how to check it. So just copy this. It's copied already to clipboard and you paste here. Let's see if it pastes. Okay, so it did. Um, so you don't need to, if you have the correct right kind of response, all you need to do is this and that's it. But I will tell us that this is not professional enough. So, and that's why I won't recommend that it be used in that sense. And I will tell us why in a bit. So let's get back to things. Where are we? Um, so yes, this is where we are. We want to clean actually. So what this does is it doesn't clean it. It just gave you the analysis based just as people were entering it, right? So if you want to see the main spreadsheet, just like because this is what you should be looking at if you want to clean something like this at first before analysis. So let's go to the form. You see something like this create spreadsheet. Just click on it. Once you click on it, it's telling you to create a new spreadsheet, right? Create a new spreadsheet. Create a new spreadsheet. So you create it. You create a new spreadsheet. Um, Boom. So this is the next step after people have entered, right? So this is a dummy set of response. So they are not real. So just for you guys to know that this is not real. So you have the major entry. This is the major entry, right? Um, the first thing you need to do um, is that um, as someone that plans for analysis, which I mean, you don't necessarily to be a data analyst, but you need to know this so that you can explain to even your data analyst as well, right? Um, but I mean, this shows all the responses and it gives you the date and the time it was completed um, and all that. And you can see all the questions as well as header. Um, Professionally, if you want to do this, you don't work on the response sheet because this is like a um, history of what has happened, right? So you don't want to clean it, you don't want to work on it. So you make a copy of this. So I go to file, then make a copy. I will call this cleaned version. Then I can even say clean, well, version means this, right? Clean version 1. And I okay that. Um, since I've started opening so many things, I just hope. So this is the original responses in here. I'm not touching it. Um, this is what I want to focus. I'm going to close it so that I don't. So I've closed it. This is what I'll be working on at the moment. So first thing first is to prepare it for cleaning. Remember, we said we needed 20. Um, the first thing you want to check is to check if somebody has done double entry. So which is common, right? Very, very common. Like you can quickly people can enter twice. That's what it means. And this tool has even on your Excel sheet is there. You see. So what we call it is removing duplicates. Removing duplicates. So um, because this is just 20, I can just quickly flip through, right? Make sure there are no duplicates or somebody skipped, although because I've used um, an instrument like this that is online, remember that all these stars has made it like you cannot skip it. It is easier skipped if it is a physical document, right? So but I can quickly look through and see, oh, I caught it. I caught the response that was, you can see this, like this is a double entry. Double entry. So, and what we normally just catch it and put a red highlight. So I mean the same first name, the same surname. Then I go to the same response on the qualitative answer, right? The open uh, question. So this confirms to me that this is a double entry, um, which I need to remove. So it means the analysis you're seeing here is not actually right, even though one person might be insignificant, but it has added somebody that has added uh, a thought twice, right? So I need to delete it here. And what I normally do is leave the second one because I might think, oh, okay, maybe she had a second thought and this was the final. So I remove You can just remove that, delete row. So this is the response that we want. Boom, 20 counts, confirmed. So once you do that, um, I also need to delink this from the form on link, so it's not linked to the form any longer. Yep, so that leaves, and I can now, there's a reason I won't be able to rename this if I hadn't done that. So I call this remove duplicates version. Then I move on to another sheet. No, this was not what I wanted to do. Let me delete it. You need to be very careful so I will duplicate this sheet. Yep, so I have this right. I want to remove things that I don't need, right? I want to remove things that I do not need on this column. There are some things that I do not need. Um, I do not need this timestamp, well, except if you want to do analysis on it. I don't need their first name. I don't need their second name. I need to protect them. So I'm removing these 3 columns, right? This is what we refer to as cleaning. Delete columns A to C. Yes, they're gone. Also, I don't need this qualitative version again. Although if I want to do qualitative analysis, then I still need it, right? All I'll just do is duplicate this but not yet. So in cleaning, that is clean, and I need to put an ID for each person. So insert one to the left, and I have my ID in here. So I turn my ID into RESP. RESP means respondents. So I can only use number to identify them. And this must be 20. Good. If it's not 20, you have not done a good job. So you need to look back at your data and see what is wrong in there. So with this now, almost getting to what I needed. Let me turn this into rename quant cleaned v1. Then I need to now so question 1, question 2, which has my first name. So let's go back here, and this is where your physical copy of this is very useful because it comes in numbers. Yeah, I can tell you that. Let's just see if we can quickly print and see. Good. So question 1 and 2, they're gone already. I have question 3 as age, right? If it's on physical paper, you would have noted it here and put so the variables. So these are what we call variables. These headers, right? You need to name them. You need to give them a shorter name, and I'll tell you why in a bit. So let's see. Age. I hope I don't get things messy. Age is number 3. You just change it. 3 age, right? So 4 is women category. Let me just put it, women category. Or you can still shorten it to WCAT. Yep. Look at. Just make sure you're trying to have just one. Um, this is about business. Question 5. So put it as boss stat, right? Then this, what extent would you say your participation in the program? I can actually read the question from there anyways, but I know that that's question 6, which is this question, right? So let me just cancel this. Um, so question 6, I can call this 6 irreg understanding, regular migration understanding. Then this is yeah, sexual abuse reporting mechanism, knowledge. I can shorten this in SARM knowledge 7. So I change it to SARM knowledge. Awesome. So this is where this has brought us, right? I've shortened that, and I can also shorten this. I mean, if I want, um, this is the open question. So 8, I can just put it as maybe perception or something. Yep. So I've already cleaned my data. One other thing you should try look at is if there's any omission somewhere, but like I said, it might not be possible because you have made all these questions compulsory, so people must respond. So I will duplicate this, duplicate, and then rename this as qualitative, uh, cleaned v1. So I didn't say I wanted qualitative. I don't want to. So, but I can just from maybe here I can just delete and leave uh, delete column. So I mean you can have this. Then in version 1 I'm going to remove because I don't need it. I just need to do. So I mean from here you start thinking about. Now, this analysis allows you to know what you want to compare. So, this is comparing women in your program to start business. This is looking at groups, right? Just the group in terms of change of their businesses. Um, this is change in knowledge of exploited women on sexual abuse reporting mechanisms. So, which means that, oh, the women that those ones that are, so you want to understand the change in knowledge in the ones that were exploited. So you can see exploited, which is a group, right? Versus, so here, versus this reporting mechanism change knowledge, right? So you know that it is this column versus this column, and so let me go back to so that I don't. So I've finished cleaning. That is what it means, and this is the proper thing to share with. So I mean to show people because you've protected your respondents already. This is ready for analysis, as it were. This is ready for analysis, especially. Uh, so this version is actually ready for analysis. This is so let's go to let's just go back. So you have to clean your data. And let's talk about findings. And in findings is thinking about analyzing your non-numerical indicator, which is this right in your grid, already in your grid. All these are numerical, and we're not dealing with non-numerical. So you need to understand that. Then let's go. Um, So in analyzing numerical data, yes, it's important that yes, you look at all the aspect of your program, those that are exposed to your program, and also use social demographic data also to look at, yes, compare things. And in comparing is what we have here. You already know in terms of age, in terms of category. If you had add gender, you might also want to look at gender, different, how this affects um, different gender. For example, the knowledge about reporting mechanism. How does it relate with each with gender, for example? Which I'm going to show us how to quickly do that using this fantastic tool before we run out of time. The remaining part of it talks about, yeah, how to describe your findings. This is part of what you do in module 6. So you need to describe the outcome for different groups that benefited from your program. For example, I mean, if you have youths with little knowledge, so in terms of maybe level of education versus those with no knowledge, how does the outcome affect them? So if we go to our example, for example, we have used age. Actually, you can also think about, okay, maybe in your instrument, oh, you would have asked for, oh, level of education, right? And you would have that. Also, just to say that this instrument that we prepared can also be edited, done better, and I've seen certain things that is here because you giving it out of 20. First, think about it like you just did a test run of your instrument, a test run, which is very, very important because it is when you see this, imagine that what you got here is not the real thing. You just want to use this to first test out your how the results will look like. It is when seeing this you now start thinking of, oh, okay, can I also look at um, their level of education and see how this affects how business starting affects, maybe, oh, it is people that are graduates that are starting more businesses than people that are postgraduates. So you start to think about different kinds of ways. But what guides you majorly is your indicators that you have outlined here, which is already in your analysis grid. Um, that here you just need exploited women versus the normal women. Here you also need exploited women versus the normal women in terms of their understanding of dangers of irregular migration. So this only focuses on uh, your program participants, no subgroup comparison. But this has subgroup comparison, this also has, so these two has subgroup comparison. And that is what we are saying here. Um, you can have different people, gender, female, male, um, and see how your program affects them. In women or in the female, you can have different set of female. Those that have a 30 to 35, 40 to, how does it affect them? So, and that's what that's what we're doing with this grid that we have in here. Subgroup comparison and group comparison is what you do when you're doing analysis and trying to interpret your findings. So your learning task is actually to clean the data from 20 responses and make it ready for analysis. That we have done already by reaching this place. And So in the main question in the classwork, let's check it. This is week 2 and boom. So this is what we're talking about in here, right? Clean the data from 20 responses from module 4B. Yes, you collected this in module 4B and make it ready for analysis. Submit the clean version of the 20 responses. That we have done here. So if you like, you might leave the qualitative part of things back if you want, and I'll do that now. But you need to be careful doing this. Maybe I shouldn't have removed it while doing this, so but I can put it back and it's 20. Yes, it's 20. Well, oh, no, let me check very well. Seeing 16. Oh, okay, yeah, 16 responded because there you have this all these gaps, and I can double check uh, from here. Let's see, 16, good. So that's why it can be delicate at times. You just need to be copying and know what to remove and what not to remove. So I've gotten this. All I just need to do is so I have this clean version. Actually, this is the only spreadsheet that you need to upload back, but what I'll do is I'll upload all of them. So you go to file, you download as Microsoft Excel, then you now upload as Microsoft Excel. Let's see. So it's already downloaded here, clean V1. So in your classroom, you add or create file, click on file, you upload, browse. I'm not sure where that went into. Oh, okay, good. I have it here. So you upload that way and boom, it's uploading already and you turn it in. Turn in. Good. So I've turned in my, so let's now get into the final part of things, trying to explain more what we mean by your findings and how to put it in proper perspective. Um, so describing findings, so like I said, so let us quickly do. This is also part of what you do in in module 6, week 3. So let's assume I have this, and I'm going to remove. What I'll do again, yes, I normally do this. I create, I make a copy again. Yes, make a copy and call this analysis. So analysis version 1, strictly for my findings. And I'm going to remove everything that I don't need. Like this, I don't need it. If anybody asks for it, I already have it somewhere. So, okay. I only need my quantitative clean version. That's all. And I delete this also. Great. So I'm left with this, right? I can quickly do some comparison. So let's look at, yeah, this group because we already said we need to compare this group. So in analysis, exploited women versus sexual abuse reporting mechanisms. what did they say now, not what changed, right? Because to know what changed, you need to compare it to before the program. So this versus this, right? This versus this, that is what it means. Let me also delete this here. I don't need it also. So to quickly do a comparison of findings between this and this, which is like looking at the number of women that are exploited that rated our response mechanism as excellent or at least good, right? The percentage of them, you can quickly know here, right? Um, One tool that is good for you, some people, I mean, in XPSS is called cross tabulation. In Excel and spreadsheets, you call it, you use pivot table. So your pivot table, uh, yeah, tells you what you should get, right? But there's a tool inside this that is called Explore, which quickly gives you uh, things in frequency. Like this group, it quickly gives you what you have in terms of frequency. So you can see it gives you, if you want to know um, those that are between the ages, how many were between the ages of 46 to 55. Huh? You click on that, it gives you things that you need in, but I don't necessarily like it. So here it's saying 5, right? But I'm not sure about that. So I don't always use it anyways, but I mean, if you just want to get to quickly explore things, it uses artificial intelligence. But let's look at our pivot table that we can use to compare. So it has this on a new sheet, right? It's going to create something here. So we're comparing women to their knowledge, right? The women category to knowledge around sexual abuse response mechanisms. All you need to do, so I just need in rows, um, normally I draw this out first just to, so in rows will be the group that I want to, so women category, you can see it's already here, those that are exploited, those that are involved in irregular migration, and those that are sexually abused. On my column will then be the knowledge, right? So you see the options, excellent, fair, good, poor. So how many of them pick that? Well, so your values, that will be your values now. Same SAM knowledge. Great. If your grand total is not 20, then there's a problem with your data set. Remember, we had 20 responses, right? We had 20 responses to that, and everybody answered that. So you can quickly do a comparison. Yeah, those that were exploited that chose excellent were how many? 6, right? 6. 15 chose excellent, but out of that 15, 6 came from, yeah, 6 were exploited, right? Exploited women. Um, you can add this 7 also because this shows an this shows a good feedback, a good knowledge rating, right? At least good. So 6 plus 7, which is 13. So at least 13 women who are exploited, right? Rated their knowledge for understanding the sexual abuse response mechanism as at least good, rated it as at least good, which is a good mark, right? So that is how you start to compare. And what this does, I mean, this is 15, right? You need to go and compare it with before the program, right? If it was just 3, so 15 minus 3 is the change that you have actually achieved. So this we will do in presenting your M&A results. I think is, yeah, that would be the task. The task is for you to now present it in a table, right? The good thing about this is, I mean, also to note that you can have this in percentages, and know that we report in percentages actually. So all I need to do is, instead of having a count at the value stage, you change this to percentages. Shown as percentage of grand total. So you have this. I will change this to, so let me just rename it to women group versus sexual abuse reporting mechanism. Or I use my code, which is SAM. And this is what you continue to do for the rest as well, right? If you're looking, so now it's clearer because this is 35, hold down control to no count, so 65% if you add good and excellent for opposite sex, so 65%. But let me quickly state something in reporting, that if the total number of your responses is less than 50, you don't necessarily use percentages. You use numbers. It is when they are more than 50 you start to use percentages. So I hope that strikes clearly. So women group, we've done the comparison to the other ones. 60% of, I mean, 65% out of 75 said excellent, right? Said at least good, at least the understanding of the sexual reporting mechanism were good. This we will do in creating our reports from this, because we're supposed to write a report. So we'll put it in a slide, and we can put the wordings also in it. So on this note, I will be wrapping up this session. With that, it's important to have a look at this checklist. Very, very important, just for you to know if you have done this. Comparisons you want to make ahead of time. You know that with your indicator, or you know that with your cursor pathway, which is this. You also know that with this grid as well. Very, very key and important. Test out analysis. So if you do pilot, which is what we did actually, is a pilot, this having 20 respondents. With that, you can now change the questions that you have. Clean data, yes, we've done that. Correct invalid values, yes. Make sure analysis fit the kind of data you have. Address each program objective, of course, we have done that here. So, I mean, the result is that, yes, more, if you look at what we just did, yeah, perhaps we cannot answer this now until we get the data from before the program. I mean, we did not do that. So let's just go with the flow, broken down data to further answer questions. So you can go through all this checklist, very, very important. These are references you can take time to take a look at, and also we have some useful links as well. Thank you so much for the time used. I hope this has been useful. Don't forget, we're looking for your comments, suggestions in the comment box. And right now from here, I hope to see you all next week. Have a good one and have a good time, and see you in the classroom. Bye for now.